Good morning, everybody. I would like to welcome you in this first presentation, public presentation of of the project in this webinar. In this session, we're going to provide you a brief introduction to the project, and also put it within the context of European policies. And I would like to give you some idea about our consortium. So we have NTRAC first stage for energy efficiency performance tracking platform for benchmarking savings. So it is technology-based project, and we have 7 partners. So 2 partners are public institutions. We have a Bulgarian from Catalonia, from Spain. We have a consultancy energy efficiency center from Bulgaria. We have Energy Pro, which is from UK, Joule Assets, and Gecko Global. So the project is coordinated by CIMNE, by Building Energy Efficiency Group of CIMNE. CIMNE is a research center, part of Catalonia Polytechnic University in Barcelona. So just to give you a brief key facts of the project, NTRAC is a Horizon 2020 project in the co-mainstreaming for energy efficiency financing. This goal is closely related to the European de-risking energy efficiency platform, is in the line of support of gathering data for this platform. The project is with duration of 3 years. So we started 6 months ago. So we have 7 partners from 5 countries. So the activities of the project will be mainly focused in 2 pilots in Spain and Bulgaria, but we are open also to extend this data collection in the later stage to more countries in Europe. So we have a data gathering objective. So this is the principal purpose of the project, about 450 energy efficiency measures, project savings and investments for them. And one of the main objective is the exchange of data with DEEP, and to describe a standard description of data that will permit gathering and exchanging of data with other platforms. So our agenda for today is follows the presentation by Steven Fawkes, which is the managing director of Energy Pro, one of our partners. Steve is an expert from the Energy Efficiency Financial Group, and has large experience in financing of energy efficiency. So he will be first setting the context and the need for expanding the data ecosystem, and afterwards I will present you, introduce you briefly the concept and objectives of NTRAC and what you could expect from the project. Afterwards, we'll have a discussion, and I will encourage you to ask your questions through our chat. So, thank you very much. I will give the floor to Steven.
Okay, thank you, Stoyan. I will just put up my presentation here. So, as Stoyan said, I've have been heavily involved in energy efficiency financing for a long time, and amongst other things, we are members of the consortium delivering the EEFIG project, the Energy Efficiency Financial Institutions Group project, and we co-led the de-risking project, which was the project that ran from 2016 to 2017, and we are heavily involved in the current project, which it's running, I think, up until 2023 and has various work streams. So as well as that work, we're involved around the world in various places in actually financing projects. So I'm going to talk a bit about the context and the need for expanding data and information. And I just want to set the context on investment, because we talk a lot about investment. A few years ago, the IEA started measuring investment in energy efficiency globally and by region. And although there are some issues about how to measure that, it is the definitive really guide to how much investment is going into energy efficiency. And what we can see here is that actually it's been pretty consistent. It came down a bit from 2014, but it's consistently running globally. Investment into energy efficiency is running at about $250 billion a year. Now, it's important to put that in context. When you look at investment into energy supply, that runs at about 4 or 5 times more than that, so over $1 trillion a year. And I think the kind of overall mission that we're all involved in is how to increase the proportion of investment in energy efficiency to the investment in energy supply. And when you look at any of the futures that are based on the Paris Agreement and achieving climate goals, we really need to increase investment in energy efficiency by a big number, and that number is probably by a factor of 4. So we need to quadruple investment into energy efficiency up to about $1 trillion a year from its current levels. And for the last few years, it has been flat, which is definitely concerning. If we look at Europe, there are various estimates of the amount of investment needed to achieve climate targets across Europe, but the generally accepted number is about $275 billion, euros rather. So then that puts some measure on where we need to get to. We need to reduce primary energy intensity by about 3.6% per annum. And in fact, we're just kind of doing that about 2%. So we're just not doing enough at the moment. I mean, there are some good signs and encouraging signs that things are moving in a good direction. The EIB committing much more of its lending to climate lending and climate related and energy efficiency. And also when we look at the benefits and start counting the multiple benefits of energy efficiency, investing in energy efficiency makes much more sense, and multiple benefits including health and well-being. So still a very long way to go, and I like to characterize it like this. We're trying to bridge the energy efficiency gap. You know, right now we're on this little tiny bridge down here in the right-hand corner. We're trying to get to this sort of average sized bridge in the background there, but really what we're trying to build here is this giant bridge across a big gap to make more investment flow into energy efficiency. I think it's always worth bearing in mind and remembering that there's another kind of energy efficiency gap, and that's the gap between energy efficiency people and finance people. They speak 2 completely different languages, and bringing them together is part of what EEFIG is about, and it's something that we really need to increase that dialogue and increase the translation, if you like, between energy efficiency people and finance people. So barriers to investing in energy efficiency. I mean, every presentation almost and every document has to talk about barriers to investing in energy efficiency. This is my sort of jokey way of talking about barriers to investing in energy efficiency. These are all the reports that mention barriers. If I had €1 for every time I'd read about barriers to investing in energy efficiency, I could retire, but we're not quite there yet. So some of the specific barriers, and this is particularly from an investment perspective. There are lots of other organizational barriers and informational barriers, but from an investment perspective, inconsistent and insufficient data to make decisions is important. Lack of awareness about what energy efficiency is and what the benefits are, that's very important. The reliance of energy efficiency on ex-ante engineering studies of savings and deemed savings rather than real actual data, that's a serious barrier. Then we have accounting practices, the perennial on-off balance sheet issue, which we seem to have been talking about for 20 or 30 years. Perceived risk and uncertainty, and that's really about the difference in risk perception by investors compared to the actual risk. And we should always remember that risk is different to uncertainty. Risk has a certain degree of measurement to it. Uncertainty is just uncertain. We just don't know what's going to happen. And investors of all types really hate uncertainty. And then finally here, I think lack of capacity within financial institutions. And this is a big one that, you know, if you talk to most financial institutions about energy efficiency, the first thing they might say is, do you mean solar energy, which is not the same as energy efficiency? So sometimes they say, you need to talk to our facilities managers about that. There's just a lack of capacity and understanding within financial institutions. And I kind of draw the parallels with renewables because I've been around long enough to have participated in some of the very, very early wind farms in the UK when, you know, there was a tiny amount of people looking at wind. And back then in the when was it, early 90s, then, you know, there were only one or two banks that had any idea about wind power. If you'd gone to talk to most banks about wind power back then, they wouldn't have understood what you were talking about. So, you know, there are parallels with renewables and we can overcome those problems, but we need to recognize those problems. One of the other really important developments in the last 2 years really is the taxonomy for sustainable activities. And this is a tool to help investors understand whether something is environmentally sustainable. And, you know, we all hear about greenwash, and when people make announcements, are they really green or are they sustainable? And the taxonomy really is going to drive and is already driving investor behavior to move assets into sustainable activities. And this happened, I think it happened remarkably quickly, really, from 2018, when the Commission set up what was called HLEG, the High-Level Expert Group on Sustainable Finance, and then a technical expert group in 2019, which developed this taxonomy, and then adopting it in 2020 and regulations coming in very soon. So this is already driving investor behavior all over Europe to deploy capital into more sustainable activities. And it's not just the taxonomy. The taxonomy is one of several things that are happening. You've got the Task Force on Climate Disclosures. You've got this massive disinvestment from fossil fuels. You've got huge amounts of capital flowing into ESG funds. And you can question some of them, but the reality is there's a massive shift there. And that's really, I think, one of the really encouraging things is institutional capital moving in this direction after many years of us talking about it. And at the end of the day, institutional capital drives big change. So big change in the financial world in the right direction. So EEFIG and the De-risking Energy Efficiency Platform, or DEEP, sort of short history. EEFIG was set up, I think, in 2014, and in 2015 published its first report, Energy Efficiency, the First Fuel for the EU Economy. And this was really the first time that anybody had really written and reported on the potential for energy efficiency investment and set up an institution or an organization, or it's not really an organization, EEFIG, but a movement and a forum to bring people together who wanted to improve the flow of capital into energy efficiency. So EEFIG was a really important, and continues to be a really important grouping and model. And then in 2017, as part of the de-risking project, two big products really were launched. One was DEEP, the De-risking Energy Efficiency Platform, which was the largest and is still the largest database of energy efficiency projects in Europe, and probably one of the largest in the world. And And then the second product that was released was an underwriting toolkit, which is a toolkit to help banks and financial institutions start to evaluate energy efficiency projects in the way that they evaluate other kinds of projects. And it was also a tool to try and bridge that language gap between efficiency people and finance people. And then more recently, in the last year and a bit, and continuing, we're into EEFIG 3, and EEFIG 3 is being done a bit differently in that there are multiple working groups, currently 8 working groups, looking at taking specific areas of EEFIG's work and expanding on them. But the creation of DEEP really is the important big step and most relevant to today's discussion and to NTRAC. And DEEP was designed as a database to help mainstream energy efficiency investments and provide investors with more information about the value of energy efficiency projects and the results that were being produced. So some results from DEEP, obviously DEEP can be interrogated and you can get different information out of it. I think one of the significant ones that maybe has been overlooked a little bit is this one really, which just shows how cheap a source of energy services energy efficiency is. So looking at all of the 10,000 projects in DEEP covering industry and buildings, you know, the average price of delivering energy efficiency in buildings was €2.50 a megawatt hour. And when you compare that to the electricity price and the energy price, you know, this proved what we'd always known and what we'd always said, but didn't really have much data about, that energy efficiency is the cheapest source of energy sources, energy services that you can get. And then other kinds of outputs, just example really, not really with anything other than just to illustrate it in mind, and it shows the median paybacks and the range of paybacks for different kinds of measures, and that's quite important. And you can interrogate it according to country or according to technology, and it will give these kind of outputs to show what the projects in the database are doing or projected to do. And again, a different kind of output really, just looking at total investment and simple payback and different type split across different types of buildings. So there's lots of different ways of interrogating DEEP. So next steps, one of the current projects within EEFIG 3 is upgrading DEEP, and 2 areas or 3 areas really that's focused on. One is increasing the size of the database and the geographical coverage. You can see on the right graphics that show the coverage, and that's important. It's currently at about 10,000 projects. Last time I heard, I think there were probably another 5,000 or 6,000 projects that were going in. So it really is collecting big numbers of projects, and also then of course improving its functionalities in the user experience. So a number of technical improvements about how you can interrogate those results and how you visualize the results. Quite a lot that needs to be done on data quality control, and quality of data is absolutely critical in this. And then really engaging more with users, and particularly users within financial institutions, which really means trying to find out what they need and modifying DEEP to meet those needs. And then just again, the third part really of the current work stream within EEFIG on DEEP is expanding the knowledge of DEEP by showcasing it much more. I think it's a bit of a hidden jewel really, that it's there. A lot of work went into it. It's a great tool, but there's more that can be done to actually use it and apply it. And then remaining problems, I mean, DEEP is, I think, and should remain the foundation in Europe for collecting and analysing energy efficiency investment data. It has the backing of the Commission, a lot of effort has gone into it, and we should build upon that rather than reinventing the wheel. But there are a number of problems that still need to be solved, particularly around lack of data unification and sharing data across platforms. data that needs also to be aligned now with the taxonomy, because of course the taxonomy came in after DEEP was built. And then importantly, a lack of verification of savings figures. And it's true to say that most of the data in DEEP is assessments of what projects should save and what they should do. And there is a much smaller percentage of projects that have data on real actual performance, and that's what we need. And then there are other issues around some areas that DEEP doesn't really have a remit to look into. And then user engagement issues, as I said, really engaging with users to say, what do you actually need out of an energy efficiency project database? So that's a quick run through on context and history, or particularly around EEFIG and DEEP. And I think the situation is at the moment, we are seeing this increase in investment in, or interest in investment in sustainability, and as that, a subset of that is investment into energy efficiency. I think within many financial institutions, there is growing interest in doing that. We do need to build capacity, but we also need to build data to support the investment case, because all investments in big financial institutions are based on data. And in energy efficiency for a long time, we've had the situation where energy efficiency people say, the returns are really great. And then you say, where's the data? And people have not been able to have the data. Whereas in any other investment class, like now renewables, because they've been around a long while and people have collected data, there's great data that investors can use to assess the returns and the risk. And we need to get to that point in energy efficiency where there is data. And once you have data, financial institutions can spend money analyzing it and hire smart analysts to go through it and say, okay, now we know for this kind of investment class, energy efficiency, let's call it, this is the range of returns, here's the average, here's the spread, and all the kinds of things that they do for other kinds of investment. So that's really all I have to say for this morning, and I will hand back to Stoyan for the introduction to NTRAC.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I will catch up on what you said, what Steven said at the end. So there are various challenges in energy efficiency investment, but NTRAC focuses mainly on the lack of data. So the principal objective of NTRAC is to collect data. And also another aspect is the standardization of data and the interoperability. So these are the main scope of, so NTRAC is totally complementary to these activities in DEEP and the activities of the EEFIG. So I will start with a brief overview of objectives of the NTRAC and the concept of the project. So the principal objective of NTRAC is to enable a massive gathering of data on the performance of energy investments, especially in buildings. So these are data about energy efficiency measures, their cost, the energy consumption before and after, but not limited only to this. We would like to collect also information about the non-energy benefits associated with this, the user perception about the effect of these investments, so like improvement of comfort or work conditions. The other thing is that we want to focus on mainly on collecting real data, which is one of the problems now in DEEP, as Steven said. And our approach is to make this process continuous. So many platforms collect data from already gathering data from different platforms or collecting them. So we want to make this process continuous in a way that that the users that are connected to the platform regularly upload their energy consumption and use this platform oftenly. And when they have investments, they do some activities, they register them, and behind this there is a process of a standard evaluation of the performance of the savings, measurement and verification, and that will provide the results in a continuous way. And for this reason, it is very key aspect is the standardization of data and enabling interoperability with different sources. So we have a special target to align our data model with DEEP, but also with other active platforms in the field. So like DEEP, like EQuad of our partner Joule Assets, and also Invest, which was the Spanish platform for energy efficiency, which unfortunately now is not fully operative, but we will learn a lot of their experience, because we have them in our advisory board. So these people from this platform. So, and the final objective is that NTRAC aims to become self-sustainable project, to live beyond this. So the project lifetime duration is to make this work, but our ambition is to provide this as a continuous service beyond the project through investigating different business models for this. So obviously there are a lot of challenges in this road, but I will mention on the ones that concern data first. So the main challenge with data is that there is a lack of standard description of the data in different platforms. So we have same things described, named in different ways in different platforms. So this makes it extremely difficult to gather these data, to consolidate them, and to make some meaningful analysis on them. So the first step is this is a problem. And also, especially for big data owners, the data is not always well organized and readily available. So I mean that there are a lot of platforms that collect energy data. So these are proprietary platforms, commercial platforms that treat these data. So energy data is more or less more easily available. But when we have to assess investments, so we need to gather these data and analyze it together with financial information. So we need to know the investments, in which conditions they have been. We need also to evaluate the effect of these savings. We need to take data from weather or some financial trends as well. But also we have to verify this with to be certain about certain parameters, so incorporating data from cadastre, for example. And so, and this is not readily available to the building owners. So most big organizations manage this information separately, so it is in fact available, but it is not prepared to be analyzed. So we want to offer a structure that allows this to be done in a more easy way. And finally, one of the main problems that there is not very let's say speedy progress, and this is that the building owners have little incentive to share the data, because this represents high effort, but The other reason is that there is not very high awareness of the value of these data have for their organizations. So, and NTRAC will try to solve these these challenges. So to confront these challenges generally in two ways: by technological means that will facilitate this process of data gathering, and also by engagement means, which are even more important for the success of this. So NTRAC is based on NTRAC platform is based on big data architecture. So this means that that it is an infrastructure that is highly interoperable and scalable. So we foresee that that this technology should be cloud-based and has the capacity to expand across different countries after the project. So it has a huge capacity of storage and analytics. Basically, this type of technology allows to store practically information for the whole European stock. So this is quite ambitious in this way, and it also provides a user interface where this architecture, this platform could be easily accessed from the users from each point, so to facilitate the interaction. Behind this, there is a data process. So here I'll try to illustrate this. So the sources of data are different. So we have public data, which is meteorological data, and data from building owners or companies like ESCO services or utility companies. So now there is increased availability of energy consumption data from utilities, even at hourly intervals. So this could be easily automated, and we use this in our approach. Many proprietary data from companies, large building owners. So these data will feed in the platform through APIs, where we are going to map these data to a standard standard model, verify, cleanse it before making the analytics and storage. And then this data will feed different output and services that some of them given by the own application, by our user interface, but also services to third parties, like we're going to feed data into Deep, but also exchange data with other platforms. So the idea is that that NTRAC is technologically could enable an ecosystem of complementary tools that could collaborate. So we do not pretend to substitute other platforms, but rather make a step into increase the interoperability between these platforms. So some of the technical aspects that will facilitate this is the access to existing databases and platforms. So because we need to reuse this existing data, and a way to align this data internally of the platform is to adopt to create a standard data model which will be openly available. So it's an open product, and for this model we will adopt one of the most extended standards, mainly in the US now, which is the BEADS standard. BEADS stands for Building Energy Data Exchange Specification. So it is a standard dictionary of terms that makes standard definitions, so that allows common understanding and alignment of data. So the other technical aspect we want to build in, we're going to leverage is to enable maximally the automation of data collection. So, and going to create APIs for access to different databases, platforms, energy utility data, weather, so that the only and this could be done also for big proprietors. We are open to do these adaptations also for big other platforms or tenants of big stock to enable their feeding into the platform automatically in maximally possible. So the other is but this data is not always possible to it's not not the whole thing that we need. So in order to enable smaller building owners to use the platform, we're going to implement standardized data uploads through the web user interface to ease this process. And at the end, so in order to support this platform easily, so we're going to implement automated data consistency check and built-in platform support to the user in order to revise and validate the submitted data. So this is a way to create a low-cost data collection and high data quality. So this is crucial for the subsistence of the platform beyond the project. On the engagement aspect, as I said, we're going to address our services. We are going to address basically three groups of stakeholders. The first group are the building owners and operators, and so this includes also ESCO companies, and this is essential group for us because these are mainly the stakeholders that possess the data. So, and by offering them services, different services, we would like to engage them with the platform and in turn, so in a way, disclosing with the provision of more data, offering them more services. So we expect to to achieve this continuous data collection. Other stakeholders are the financial institutions, so which will be offered services similar to those of DEEP that Steven commented before, but the difference in NTRAC is that NTRAC is focused on buildings rather than on project level. So we collect more detailed information on buildings, and this will enable us to make more targeted benchmarking. So to compare to peers to projects to their peers in a more detailed and targeted way. So, for example, comparing with specific typologies, with specific measures applied to specific buildings with specific characteristics. So we expect to go deeper in this. And the other important stakeholders are policymakers, these are government institutional officers, but especially we think NTRAC is especially relevant for local and local governments, municipalities, so with which have public stock building, but also have the capacity to legislate some data disclosure, local data disclosure initiative or energy efficiency programs that could be supported by these data collections. So basically for building owners, we going to the service level. So the NTRAC aims to become a one-stop shop solution where building owners could use this as a repository, their own private repository for their all buildings data within this system to monitor the performance of their stock, to verify modifications, and also to benchmark this building stock to different to other projects. But this proprietary data, it is important that will never be shared on an individual or a non-anonymized way. So it will be their private space where they can store and make this data operational. But the data will be shared only for the purposes of benchmarking in an anonymized and aggregated way with other users, which will provide the added value of our services. So as to how the engagement approach is basically based on providing value from the data collection. So once this building and energy consumption information and applied measures in investments is fed into the system, it will provide different services which will feed into the provide additional confidence and value to the owners, and in this way we expect to become a pole of attraction for more data to feed into the system. So making this like more progressively increasing small ball effect, no? While at the same time delivering different impacts. So NTRAC has different impacts. Some of them are direct, other are not indirect. So basically we want to improve the investment, the risking impact by gathering data. This is direct thing from output of the project. The standardization of data is also a direct impact from the project by our open data model. A technological impact, we expect that the interoperability that will be enabled by NTRAC, and the possibility to exchange data through platforms will also have impact over the use of other platforms. So to increase the use of other platforms, so in a way that like an ecosystem, we could grow together with other platforms we are connected together. And also this economic and environmental impact that is associated with this is also in place. So as just to summarize in a nutshell what we could expect from NTRAC. So main outputs is the standard open data model. This is, as I said, harmonizing data from different sources. Will be comparable, complementary data analytics offered over this. The standard data model will be fully aligned to DEEP, so we can exchange data with DEEP and support in this way European building renovation policies as well in a broad way. The model will be mapped to beats. So beats now currently represents an ecosystems of more than 50 applications. So when I talk applications, these are big projects. So the building performance database of the US, more than 1 million buildings there. Apple Energy Star tools, or to mention some of them. These are tools that are used now from municipalities in the whole US to report data over these standards. So it is a huge step in standardization and aligning with these large ecosystem of tools. And also this will enable us interoperability with other third-party bases through exchanging and complementary. So EQUAT is a platform that meets investors and projects. So it is quite synergistic to our approach, but we do not overlap. So actually, it is a synergy there. So we expect also automated procedures for data quality check, detecting consistent and incomplete data, tackling data redundancies. So this is a problems that happen when you gather data from different services that might not fully align. So these procedures will be supported by a storage in sort of data lake of all the raw data that are submitted and stored, and this will allow us on one side not to lose information, and on the other side give confidence in the data processing further. So the platform will offer capabilities and procedures to guide the user to check and complete and verify its data. So this will reduce the cost of data collection, but also make the user aware of the quality of his own data, because this is sometimes is a problem for the credibility. So it is important that the user is aware which is the data he provided and what is the quality of the data, and understand also the services that are possible to give to receive with these data. And as I said, one-stop shop for building owners, collect data in a single space. So this will avoid large investments for building owners. Now, big owners can build their systems, but to maintain these systems is very costly. So we could offer this in a very competitive way. The possibility to make this data not only to store it, but to make it operational, to monitor the performance, detect malfunctioning, benchmark, set strategies, support decisions. And this will be done through different services. So energy performance monitoring, benchmarking will be key services, well complementary to DEEP, for example, which doesn't offer this, but it is important to assess the saving potential of when it comes to services. So, and also services for financial institutions. I will go more rapidly here. Building characteristics, also the dimension of uncertainties, and the effect of user perception, and the drivers for investments are also important part in the data collection. So we think that NTRAC is very relevant for the regional and local governments, as I said, and will enable them and give them this technical infrastructure to perform their programs and toward these goals. And we believe these goals cannot be achieved only without the step to really account the emissions we're having. So this is a necessary step towards these goals. So and this is where NTRAC is now. Thank you very much. Probably we extended a bit more, but I will be very happy to answer your questions if you can submit them through the chat. Thank you.
When you talk about the services that NTRAC could provide, how do you see that comparing or competing with sort of existing information sources and that are out there? Now, there are lots around purely on energy, I know, and there are some around carbon, but it's quite a competitive marketplace. At least it appears to be. I'm not sure that it really is, but it appears to be competitive. So it'd be interesting just to hear the views on how you can compete.
We do not pretend to make very very detailed, let's say, energy management services. Well, our focus is mainly to provide benchmarking, so which is with a broad base benchmarking with which now I think it's still not very well present in Europe, because there are a lot of benchmarking, but at the institutional level, limited to stocks, proprietary stocks, but it's not quite representative. So we could offer this service as a base, and also the service of NTRAC is envisaged as a levelized service. So we don't want to go first to collect information which is very detailed, because this would limit a lot of users. So our first intention is to gather the information that is available at everybody, so basic information. So and do with it this as much as possible with it, and then at the second, at later levels, to collect more detailed information that will disclose more specific services. So, and but we in fact do not want to start with very detailed data, because there is always a trade-off between the number of users and the quantity of data. So our first priority is to engage as much as possible users, to collect their, let's say, information that is readily available, like energy consumption from utility bills that everybody has, and then yeah, very basic characteristics of buildings and investments, and then to engaging the user to also to provide at certain steps and time moments, well, in the services, different additional information, but that can be easily introduced and gradually complement the picture of this. So without and gradually disclosing different services. So, but in this sense, it is more complementary rather than competing with some tools. So we always advise that different views are necessary. In such a complex problems, there is no single application that can solve your problems. So no silver bullet. So you have to use different applications to have different views.
There was one question which you sort of answered, which was about technical information, and will the platform allow information about building characteristics, types of wall area, and so on to be entered? So that's very technical information, but I think your answer was not at first, but it could move that way.
Well, actually, the data model is quite complete. So we have all these like type of areas. You can introduce gross area, net area, climatized area, and all this is within the model. But so this information, as I said, will be gradually searched from the user. So it's if he has it, it will have the possibility to put it, but not let's say as a first requisite to.
No, not a requirement, but it's the facility is there to put it in.
We are very low for the user, so even if they have basic data, it's the process to gradually get it. So this is the approach. Well, thank you very much for attending this, and we will welcome you in our next sessions that will come soon. So stay tuned to NTRAC. There will be news soon.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.